It's Jim Check. You're watching Kelowna Now. I'm here with John Rustad, the leader of the BC Conservative Party. Thank you for coming on with me this morning, John.
Thank you for having me on, Jim.
You've been a busy guy. Usually Kent's with me, but he's off on a different assignment. So it's just you're just getting me this morning. The reason that we had you on, we had Kevin Falcon on, I think, last Monday, not this recent Monday, but the prior Monday. And the statement he made was that you have a clown car of extremist candidates, so we're just going to give you a chance to answer to that.
Well, I'm not sure what else he can say, given that his party is, basically imploding, and so he's looking for any sort of angle he can. But the reality is, we've got very good candidates. We've got doctors, we've got lawyers, we've got business people, we've got farmers, we've got people from the military that served this country for many decades. We've got people from the police force. I mean, we have people from all walks of life that have come forward to run for the Conservative Party of BC. We've got councillors, we've got trustees, we've got former mayors. It's quite a crew that we put together. So I'm not sure exactly what Kevin Falk is referring to, but I'm really not about it, because the Conservative Party of British Columbia's got one focus and one focus only right now, which is defeating the NDP and their radical policies here in October.
So you've been busy. On Friday, you announced a candidate that crossed the floor, and then on Monday you did the same.
Yeah, it's as we build out our team, we have been in talks with some of the people, some of my former colleagues, and some of the people from the United Party. But as the Conservative Party, I've always said it's not about being conservative or liberal or NDP or Green for that matter. It's just standing for what's right and fighting for the average everyday person. Lauren Dirksen, who was their caucus chair, and then Eleanor Sturko, of course, who I never actually served because she was elected in a by-election after I was kicked out of the BC Liberal Party. Both, however, are very strong people, very passionate. Lauren, of course, has done a lot of work with the fire issues that we had up in his riding with the resource sector, forestry, these types of things. And Eleanor, of course, is extremely strong on things like crime and addictions. So very nice to be able to have them come in as be part of our team to help grow out who we are as the Conservative Party.
Yeah, so interesting, the one on the last one, Eleanor Sturko, because you dumped Damon Sarcy. Is it Scarcy? I'm getting his name wrong. Because he wrote some remarks on social media calling that were, I guess, that you didn't like. And so he was removed from the party. But Paul Ratchford recently, there's some tweets that he's been doing and where he was actually attacking Eleanor. But now you have Eleanor in your party. How do you reconcile that? Because, I mean, that's why I think you get that branded extremist thing. But now you have somebody that identifies as in the LGBTQ. I'm probably not going to get the words right. So how do you reconcile that?
Sure. Well, I mean, first of all, in Damon's case, he recognized that he had said some things that were problematic. He offered his resignation, and we accepted it. So he's no longer a candidate. With regards to Paul, Paul was, of course, we're in the middle of a by-election at the time. I wasn't even part of the party then when he attacked Eleanor directly. These things sort of happen during by-elections, during elections, where you get people saying things. Both Eleanor and Paul have had a conversation. Paul apologized to Eleanor. Eleanor accepted that apology. So, we're moving forward and working together. But we have other members, both running for us as well as working for us, that are part of the LGBTQ community. So it's not like Eleanor is by herself. But obviously, Eleanor has been a champion of many of the rights. And we welcome that. We're building a broad coalition as a party.
So you get branded as an extremist by some people, including like Kevin Falcon. You said you have extremist candidates, and obviously that seems not to be true on the face value based on Eleanor and other things you're just saying. So how do you have you shifted, or have you always been right there where you are right now?
We haven't changed at all in terms of who we are as the Conservative Party. But think about this. David Eby has come out and used, the type of language that you hear down in the States, and come out and attacked us. I mean, what else this can do? He's hiding up on his failures. He's hiding up on the massive problem he has with decriminalization and with safe supply and all that's created. The crisis we have in healthcare, the crisis we have in affordability. I mean, the crisis we have in our resource sector. So he's trying to point the finger and he's trying to distract people from the real problems that are there. And Kevin Falcon's doing the same. I mean, Kevin's got all kinds of problems and issues within his own party, and he's trying to create a story. The reality is, like I say, as the Conservative Party of British Columbia, we're just going to stay focused. We're going to stay focused on making sure that we connect with people, that we build this grassroots movement, and that we challenge for government. And hopefully, come October, should the electorate decide they want to support us, remove David Eby and these radical policies he has for British Columbia.
Aren't we better off to start talking about the issues too? Like starting about the issues, like you were just saying, like some of the issues that are really bothering British Columbians, and that's like, putting gas in their car, putting food on the table, and being able to afford rent or being able to afford their mortgage payments and that kind of stuff, and fixing our healthcare system, homelessness, opioid crisis. I mean, we have a long, long list of things that we need to fix, including wildfires. And, I'm not sure if you've seen it. I did an interview with Coulson Aviation a couple of weeks ago, and, they have the largest aviation company, wildfire aviation company in the world, and they have 0 contracts with British Columbia.
Yeah. No, there's so many things to be looked at. And we've taken a number of these issues on already. Things like getting rid of the carbon tax. I mean, we have a premier that believes that if you pay more taxes, he'll change the weather. I mean, it's that crazy, right? And it's nuts to think that, taxing people into poverty will change the weather, which is why we'll get rid of the carbon tax. We've got a number of other big things that we are going to be rolling out, particularly around affordability and housing, of course, being big issues. Coulson, that's an interesting history. I remember when I was a minister, I actually asked about Coulson and that issue and why the ministry was not using it. It seems to be a decades old fight between Coulson and the Ministry of Forests. And I'm not sure exactly why. I'm not sure if it's just ideology within the ministry, but obviously Coulson provides very good services in many other places around the world. But I also look at it's not just about that company in British Columbia. It's also about how we fight our fires. We're not utilizing the locals, the professionals. We're not giving them the authority to get out there on the landscape quickly. Everything has to be command and control. I mean, there's big changes we need in how we fight fires in this province, and that's something that we're committed to doing.
We also did a story yesterday that we published, and it's a young Kelowna doctor that is allowed to practice in his private practice, but he isn't allowed to do he can't refer patients to the hospital or follow them through long-term care because he did not get vaccinated. And he shared a lot of his frustrations, and there's other nurses and doctors that have reached out to us as well. How do we have a path forward for these people that are, his choices are go to Alberta, I guess, or any other province in Canada, but he's still here fighting the fight.
Yeah, and I'm happy he's here doing what he can do to help patients. I mean, so we'll get rid of these mandates. These mandates for this COVID vaccine make no sense. We're the only jurisdiction in the world. And so what is it, the science that everybody else is following that we're not? Or is it just that British Columbia is locked into an ideology? And I think it's the latter. And so we're going to get rid of these COVID mandates. We're going to hire back our healthcare workers. Quite frankly, we're going to put together a group to actually look at how they were treated and whether or not there should be compensation provided to these people that were fired. Because I think, quite frankly, there's a wrong that was done there. But that's only one piece of how we solve healthcare. I mean, getting those people back to work in British Columbia is a big thing that we need to do. But there's many, many other things that need to be looked at. Our healthcare system is in a crisis. We have only one other country in the world that I know of that even comes close to following the model that we use, and that's North Korea. Why would we do this? There are many other models in the world, particularly in Europe, that are following, universal healthcare. It's seamless for patients. They get to, access whatever the healthcare is that's provided, but it can be provided by both public and private services. It allows us to better utilize the professionals that we have. There's other models I've looked at that help to expand how many patients a doctor can see. There's so many things that we can be doing on healthcare. We're really looking forward to rolling out, a comprehensive plan around healthcare as the Conservative Party of British Columbia.
I've heard from some people saying that you're just the spoiler and you're not ready to govern. You don't have a platform ready. When do we see your platform, and when do you convince British Columbians that you're ready to govern, I guess?
Well, I can tell you, we have the experience. We've got the people that are stepping up the plate to be able to govern. And, as you see, our team being built out. For example, look at Amelia. She's our top vote getter in Penticton on council. She's very experienced. She's a lawyer, very capable individual. We've got people who have been many years on things like the Parks Board in Vancouver, on school trustees. But more than that, we've got lots of people with good practical business experience that can come to the table and be able to do things. And what we're building is really that next generation of politicians. But I think when it comes to the platform, one of the problems that we've had is we've been wanting to roll out platform pieces, but with the NDP in crisis, the scandal around MNP, quite frankly, what I think is going to turn into a scandal, what they're doing in BC housing, the absolute disaster that decriminalization has done, and employees being told they have to wear gas masks to work in an environment. I mean, this stuff is just ludicrous. And so I know I don't want to take away from what that focus is on the NDP and their challenges by putting policy pieces out there. So when the time is appropriate, we will be rolling out more policy pieces, and you'll see a full platform come out either just before the election or during the election.
Do you have a full slate, or where are you at with a slate of candidates for all the ridings?
I think we've got about 66, 67 candidates at this point. We've got another 20 or so that are in the works. We've got a number of nomination races that are ongoing. Some will be wrapping up here shortly. So I suspect you're going to start to see us roll out a number of candidates in the very near future. The vetting process, of course, is taking more time than I hoped, going through and doing that. We've obviously significantly expanded our vetting process as a party. But we'll have no problem getting to our 93 candidates. We've got lots of people that are stepping up to the plate that wanting to be part of what we're doing in British Columbia.
The last report I saw was the NDP was leading in political donations with BC United second, and you were in third. How is that going? Are we seeing any acceleration on your side, or?
Donations have picked up significantly for us as a party, and which is great to see. And as more candidates we put in place, obviously they're out raising money as well. And so I think you're going to see numbers that will have us, clearly, I suspect, in second place in raising money. But I mean, the NDP have built up a war chest that we're not going to be able to match. But I have always said, money doesn't buy votes. Money helps to get your word out. But when people want change, they bring about, they vote regardless of, how much money you're spending on advertising or other things. But we're already seeing as well third parties out there, hammering away at us, and some of them are hammering away at the NDP. The election's already starting to get very heated, even though we're still 3 months out, 3.5 months out to the start date.
Yeah, it's unusual to see candidates crossing over, especially as we head into an election. So you've had a busy last 4 or 5 days, right, with Friday and Monday. And are we expected? I know you probably can't answer this question, but I guess the question on most people's mind: are we going to see more?
One of the reporters on Monday asked me, are we going to be seeing one of these a day? And I mean, the reality is, I'm not expecting a lot more. Obviously, we're always open. As the Conservative Party of British Columbia, we're open to working with anybody that wants to come in and be part of our organization and be part of defeating the NDP. Because, like I say, it's not about an ideology. It's about building on this grassroots movement that we have and just standing for what's right. And so there may be some others that might be thinking about it. I haven't had any direct conversations with any other MLAs at this stage, but I'm open to having those conversations. But at the same time, I'm not going to be throwing my own candidates under the bus. We've got a very, very good team that's being built, people that have been working hard, going out there, knocking on doors, raising money, putting their teams in place. And I very much respect that. And I know they're going to do very well in this upcoming election.
How many hours of sleep are you getting? Like 2 or 3, or?
Not enough. Yeah, it's unfortunately and the schedule keeps changing. Like, for example, last week we were in 10 different communities. We did 4 rallies, including one. I think we had between 400 and 500 people out in Courtenay. We did at least a half a dozen, if not maybe not more, meet and greets as part of that as well. I spoke at 2 conferences, and then of course was in Victoria, announcing a candidate, Lauren Dirksen, coming over as part of that. So yeah, you don't get a lot of sleep in there. There's not a lot of time. I don't get a lot of time to be able to be at home either.
Yeah. And sorry about your Canucks. And I'm wearing the Oilers hat. And any predictions for the Stanley Cup final?
I think it's going to be a very hard-fought game. And of course, I'm a Canucks fan, but I don't get a chance to watch a lot of hockey, but I also look at it from the perspective of the team that knocked us out. I'm hoping is going to be able to be successful. So I'm okay with you wearing the Oilers hat for now.
Yeah, it's I'm game 7. Draisaitl scores in overtime.
Well, that would certainly make it exciting, boy. I tell you, I mean, that's what all fans want, right? Is a
That's
good,
right.
hard-fought series back and forth, and then that crowning moment. So let's hope it's a good series.
Yeah, I got to watch him in overtime Memorial Cup when he played for the Kelowna Rockets, and I think we lost in the first 30 seconds. So he's got some redemption there to work on. So,
well, like I say, I think it'll be a good game one way or the other. It'll be good entertainment.
yeah, it's good hockey, and that kind of stuff brings Canadians together too, right? So, and
It does.
we've had quite the drought, so anything that can bring Canadians together is a good thing. So,
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because we've got a government today in British Columbia that actually has told the public service not to call people British Columbians, which is just crazy. Like, I'm a proud Canadian. I'm a proud British Columbian. I'm proud of what we can do. I mean, we're hopelessly managed at all levels of government. We need significant change, but boy, oh boy, we have so much potential.
I think we should do a poll because I think they did a poll on how people characterized your guys' leadership styles, and you can go see that poll yourself. But maybe they should do a poll and say, what are the issues that are pressing for Canadians or British Columbians? So what are those issues, and what are we talking about as opposed to what's really happening, right? Because I think the people I talk to are worried about paying their rent or their mortgage, having enough money at the end of the month to put their kids in soccer or hockey or whatever that is that they can afford to do, and have eating some decent food, right? And then having a healthcare system they can access. With like there's so many people without a doctor. Those are the kind of things that are pressing on people's minds, right? It's an affordability crisis all around.
Absolutely. And polls for the last 3 years have been consistent. It's either affordability or healthcare, number one, number two, or reversed, and by a long shot. And then it goes into crime, addictions, the economy. Those sort of issues come third, fourth, fifth, sixth. But I tell you, you're absolutely right. One thing I hear more than anything else, particularly from younger people, is, look, I'm working one job, I'm working two jobs, I'm struggling to put food on the table and pay my rent. I have no hope to be able to buy a home. I can't put any money away for my future. How can I even raise a family here in British Columbia? And people are losing hope, and that's why there's so many people leaving. I was talking with some people in the Indo-Canadian community that moved here from India to build a future here 10, 20 years ago. And they're actually saying, we can't make it here. This is ridiculous. Why are we here? We're actually thinking about moving back to India. I mean, we have so much potential. British Columbia is like the jewel in the crown. We have everything we could ever want. We've got all the resources. We've got a well-educated population. There's so much that we could be doing, but it is so tied up in ideology and just, over-governed. We need to just get back to the basics and unleash our potential.
Kevin Falcon had a good point. He said that when BC United was when governing, they have 3 projects that are just coming to an end: Site C Dam, the Trans Mountain Pipeline, and for the life of me, I can't, out of the tip of my tongue, can't find that third project.
Well, Coastal GasLink and LNG Canada.
Yeah, there you go. And then, but the NDP don't have any projects in the past 8 years that are of that magnitude. And we have a company like Canfor that is basically saying they don't want to invest in British Columbia, and it's a BC company, grassroots company, and here we have 10,000 jobs lost in our forestry sector, and that's our second largest sector. How do we get the good paying jobs back in the resource sector? Because that's what people really want, is good paying jobs and opportunity. I think that's, if you ask somebody what they really want, and that would be like a simple answer. And resource sector has good paying jobs, right?
Yeah. Resource sector, tech sector, it doesn't seem to matter. People don't want to invest in British Columbia. And it's because we've got such a negative environment. We've got a government that's hostile. We've got policies that keep changing. And I'll give you an example. There are currently 17 mines in British Columbia that are permitted or about to be permitted. Those 17 mines represent a $38 billion investment in BC. They'll generate between 20 and 30,000 jobs and add $800 billion to our GDP. And what has this government done? During this past budget, they announced that they are going to be developing a plan to create a critical mineral strategy, which then will drive some plans, which then they'll use to start looking at getting some mines open. Like, why are we doing all this red tape? Let's cut that garbage out and let's get to getting these mines open. Let's get to an environment where the companies want to come and invest and create those jobs and support our community. And it's not even just, the direct jobs in our small communities around the province, but it's all the suppliers. It is, all the accountants, everything else that's also located in the Lower Mainland and other places in the province. And we desperately need the revenue from these projects to be able to improve things like healthcare and being able to do those strategic investments we need to reduce taxes in British Columbia. So that's just one example. There's tons of other things that we could be talking about, both with the potential for LNG, as well, of course, as getting our forest industry back on its feet. There's so much we could be doing there, and that we will do as the Conservative Party of British Columbia.
Yeah. I thank you for your time today, and wish you luck. And I'm sure we'll talk to you again. And again, thank you for your time. Go Oilers, go.
Thanks very much. And I very much look forward to actually getting down to Kelowna here before too long. Hopefully we'll be able to do an interview in person again.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thanks a lot, John.
All right. Take care.
You too. Bye now.